Welcome back to the best thing you watched this week. We've got Chris from Movies and Munchies, myself, Ruben from the Ruby Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us, whether it's on video or on the audio. We love our community that is growing. If it's this your first time, basic formula is Chris will do a movie quiz that he's done for weeks now. He will say whoever has won the movie quote quiz, and then he'll do some more. I will ask a stupid question, then we'll get stuck into the best thing we watched. And then over on the audio exclusive content, wherever you're listening to audio podcasts, we will do a movie that we either haven't seen for a long time or have never seen. We will talk about the entertainment news of the week, which is at the moment really interesting, not necessarily good, but interesting. We will also talk about what we're looking forward to in the entertainment, movies and streaming, everything that's coming out, what's kind of piqued our interest, maybe stuff that you want to put on your list. And we also have a podcast which starts at just £1. And we recently recorded
a Patreon, not a podcast. Well, we do have a podcast too.
Oh, yeah. No, sorry. Patreon.
You don't have to pay for the podcast.
Called The Bearded Ones. It starts at just £1. And we recently recorded with a member of our Patreon, Fro. He got us to talk about our top 5 musicals. And so we had a lot of fun recording that. And so you can listen to that in all its glory really soon. And there's over, I think, 40, 50 videos,
60, I think.
60 videos on there. Yeah, a lot of them for £1. We obviously have different tiers depending on how you would like to support us. If you want to, you are already supporting us by being here, and we appreciate that loads. Anything else?
Like, share, subscribe. Do all that YouTube-y things.
All that stuff, yeah.
Yeah,
Let's jump in. Chris?
Cool.
Anybody win?
Yes, we did. We had Tara Briscoe, Nostromo, and Chris Retzlaff all got the answers for last week.
Nice.
The theme was kind of like 80s spy/war movies, but comedies. Not nothing heavy. So,
so I was guessing in the right genre last week. If you remember, I was saying Naked Gun and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And Hot Shots. So I was there, but not
you were
there.
Yes. Just not, those aren't from this. Number 1, Top Secret.
Dude, love that film.
Number 2, Stripes.
Also love that film.
And then number 3, Spies Like Us.
It's okay.
Oh, come on.
No, I do like it. Who doesn't like Spies Like Us?
Doctor. Okay, I'm going to take off my hat because it's really, really hot.
Is it warm? Okay.
It is warm, yes. Okay, oof, that's a little better. Okay, you ready for this week's?
Yeah.
Cool. The first one is 2 people. So it's a line and then a line from another person. That money's got blood on it, man. You ever seen any that didn't? Okay. Number 2. What do you see right now? You see exactly and only what I choose to show you. That is illusion, Ivy. That is the lie that I tell your eyes, making the magic happen. Last one. Maybe we're lying here because you don't want to be standing somewhere else.
Wow, those are all tricky. Super tricky. I think I know the type of film. I might even have guessed one, but the other two I'm really not sure on. All right.
Yeah, they're obscure. The first one actually is a movie that I don't know if it holds up anymore, but I loved it when it came out.
Okay.
So
interesting.
But let us know. Give us your answers in the comments. Like always, just leave a little bit of space so that everybody has an opportunity to guess at that. We'll give you a shout out if you get it right next week. And Ruben has a question for us.
It's going to be a good one. What I would like our audience members to do is tell me a little story. And as usual, I will set the scene as to why. So I'll tell you a little story, and I'd love you to do the same. So, how many years ago? 7, 8 years ago on Father's Day, I was riding my bicycle, and my wife's sister was with us from New Zealand, and we were having a great walk in the forest, and my front wheel dug in deep to some sand on a downhill in the forest, swiveled it. I went over the handlebars. My hand went forward and hit the ground, and it shattered my humerus in 3 places. It broke in 3 places. Yeah. And I obviously got loads of debris on my leg and my elbow. They had to like dig with tweezers, like bits out of your flesh, and it's all the good stuff. And it took me a little while to heal from that. I still sleep weirdly now with my arm because it hurts in certain places. Like it still has never healed fully. Okay. So this should be like a stand-up comedy routine. I'm in the clown costume, so that helps.
Waiting for the punchline here.
Yeah, no. So things you take for granted that you don't know is easy until it's hard. So I never used to have trouble wiping my butt. But after I broke my humerus and I used this arm predominantly to clean myself, I then had to use that. But the way it was situated was still hurting, so I had to go around and kind of hunch forward, right?
Thank you for that visual.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. It's going to get worse, so the story carries on, Chris.
Okay.
So, but recently I went skating, and I picked up that hobby, and then I fell, and I
skateboarding,
skateboarding. And I cracked a couple of ribs, and I hurt this arm. And so now I'm in a place where I need to go wipe my butt, where I'm arching forward and backwards as to not like hurt the pain in my ribs, but also hunch in a weird way and to wipe properly because you don't want any debris. You need a bidet or something, right? So I look really special trying to do that without being in pain. So here's the stories I would like from our audience. What is the break you've had in your body or injury you've had with things that you took for granted that ended up being much more difficult to do afterwards? Because you always take, like, if you break a pinky or a toe or something, you think it's fine, but then your balance is off and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so much worse than I expected. Chris, have you had any broken bones that were things a bit more difficult? Or you're one of those people who've never broken anything?
I grew up in A&E. What are you talking about? I had one kind of similar to you, actually, where I was in a motorcycle accident, and the only thing that got broken was a tiny little bone in my wrist.
Wow, that's amazing.
I was lucky. I mean, I bruised my tailbone, and the doctors all said that I would wish that it had been broken versus bruised, because the bruise lasted for well over a year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was devastating. But I went several months with multiple x-rays. I kept telling my doctor something is not right. I mean, it got to the point where I would shake somebody's hand or whatever, and it would bring me to tears. My hand would go numb.
Yeah, you get like little pins of needles and then it goes numb.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was miserable. And so I thought maybe I had nerve damage or something, I don't know. But I had so many x-rays that they were like, no, it's fine. I was like, okay. So my doctor finally sends me to an orthopedist. And this was a sports medicine guy.
Right.
No joke. He takes an old x-ray, goes, yeah, it's broken. I mean, that quick. And I went, what? And he then holds it up for me, and he shows me the break in my wrist. So I had
do they know how to do their job?
Yeah, well, he's the specialist. I don't know. Anyway, I had gone months without a cast on.
So
with
it was
a broken
healing
bone.
probably in the wrong.
No, it didn't heal because it kept separating, which was causing all of the pain. And so I had a cast on my hand, my wrist, like from my elbow up to my fingers. I had like these 3 fingers, I think, or these 2, whatever it was, for 6 months. And so I couldn't, and I'm right-handed. So I couldn't type. I couldn't hold a phone, couldn't wipe my butt.
Yeah.
It was miserable.
It's different of the things you take for granted, isn't it?
Yeah. And by that time, I was grumpy too. I mean, it was affecting my mood because it was just, and it stunk and everything. And I kept getting a new cast every month too. So anyway, yeah.
So that was tough. More tricky than you expect.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure there's other times where I've like you don't think an injury is going to hurt so bad, and then it does for quite a while.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Okay, good times. I'm looking forward to the stories because I think the human race is so interesting when it comes to injuring ourselves in new and wonderful ways. I think we'll have a few great stories there.
Yeah, no doubt.
Should we jump into the best thing we watched this week?
I think so. Yeah. You want to go first?
Sure. I presume this is on your list. The reason why I'm dressed up like this is as it's the closest I could get to Buggy from One Piece. All right, so it's a massive, massive series for Netflix, and they were betting a lot on this series being big for them. They needed a win. The fans very worried because their adaptations have not been awesome, to say the least. And so we all went and we saw a few of the images like last year, and Oda went, yeah, you're going to need to reshoot that. And they spent 6 to 7 months reshooting and fixing things. And now we have our first live action of 8 episodes, about an hour apiece. And it chronicles the beginning of Luffy, the pirate, who wants to be a proper pirate, setting up for the grand adventures with an anime that has over 1,000 episodes now. Which is intense. I wonder if it's popular. Will they do like the 1,000? Will we get 10, 20 seasons? I would say there's a good chance that we'll get a few seasons out of this, considering
I hope so.
How well it's come out and the fans of the manga and the anime mostly really enjoyed this, and the non-anime fans mostly really enjoyed this. So. It's like on Rotten Tomatoes and everything. It's had like quite equal and quite high on the scale of the zeitgeist of people. You know, the aggregate scores seem to be really good. The thing I was worried about most, one of the things I was worried about most was the CG, because it's such a heavy. Devil fruit users have powers, and you're going to need to show that. And the CG was could so easily let it down. We've seen in Flash, 200 million budget, and it still just looks awful.
Terrible.
So,
yeah.
But I think, and you can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I think to date, this is the most expensive TV series ever made per episode. So, like Game of Thrones was like 10, 11 million per episode. I think The Last of Us was about 12. This is $18 million an episode. And so in the back of my mind while I'm watching, I'm looking for where they've spent the money, and you do see it. It's the lavish sets that they've built. It's not like green screen. I mean, there obviously is green screen, but they built massive sets. They built the ships. They did all the CG for the movements of Luffy's stretchy super devil fruit powers. Buggy, the most heavy CG character that can dismember himself into many, and didn't look stupid, just looked awesome. And I have to say, from his character from the anime, he's more darker in this live action version, and I loved it. They did a lot more. I was just really impressed with his character. And then there's a lot more emotion than I was expecting from this live action version. The Nami storyline, I think, really holds that emotional bit. Like, there's a good chunk of story that kind of helps you understand where the team need to come together. And the backgrounds, I guess that's the only weakness. It's very generic storytelling when it comes to flashbacks. Like I prefer like sometimes just having a whole episode of flashbacks, and then like we get the background story, and then we stay in the. It's just, but I mean it works. So you get a character and they do flashbacks. You see Shanks, which is one of my favorite characters, give Luffy the hat, right? And then vice versa, when Luffy gives Nami the hat for whatever reason, there's emotional tracking, like a nice journey that just works so well. So as a fan of the anime, watching the live action, I was really impressed. I'm literally going to go and watch this week with, again, but with the original voice actors, because if you watch the dubbing, they loved it so much that they came back and also did the dubbing, so you can listen to their voices if you're used to that. It's going to be weird because it's kind of backwards, reading the subtitles, the English actors being dubbed with the Japanese, but I'm going to give that a go and see how it feels. I'm hopeful for the future of this, even though we have a strike. and this really is just the origins of the beginning of the group. I'm hopeful for the future because I'm excited for everybody to see what happens next, because really it just gets crazier and bigger and more mental from here on. Literally the next season, where they finish, they're talking about the map, and there's this bit where she's Nami saying, I don't understand what the water's doing here. Literally that next episode is going to be crazy. So I really, fingers crossed. Okay, so from someone that hasn't seen the anime, let me know what you thought about this.
I was blown away. You and I had chatted during the week, and because you got screeners and I didn't, so I watched it just when it came out. And it did take me a little bit to get into. I mean, because I'm not familiar with the world at all, so everything is brand new to me. And as I'm watching this, come on, and I'm once I sat back, I think, and just let it happen, without trying to figure out certain things, just let it explain to me in its pacing. It was so much easier to get into. Once I understood the rules that the world had set up for itself, I thought it was beautiful. I mean, because it sticks to its own rules.
Yeah, it does.
And I brought up, the costuming is very weird and eclectic. And that's okay. I loved it, because you have some people that look like they're actually from the pirate times in the 17th century.
Yeah.
And then you have miniskirts and chucks,
like Sanji's wearing a suit.
A suit, yeah, exactly. And so it didn't bother me. Like, I loved it. I loved the mix of that, because that meant that the series is embracing itself. Like, it's just like, this is what we are and this is what we're going to do. And it doesn't have to have a specific time period in mind. This is just that world.
It's not Earth. It's a different world. If you actually understand the map, it's so weird. There's a lot of water in the map, which is why there's so much pirates in the Navy. They need these things to kind of govern each other. I was really worried that you weren't going to like this, because I know when it comes to certain fantasy stuff, Wheel of Time, the Witcher side story, when it comes to campy dialogue, and there is a lot of campy dialogue, those sort of things can often not work. But I think what you've nailed there is that because they embrace the rules of what they have, they kind of, it fits into the niche of the genre. And for some reason, because not all adaptations work, like some anime, when you adapt it, it doesn't feel right. But yeah, it's a weird mix of like the costumes, even have technology. The mushy mushy telephones are one of the best designs of craziness ever. I love that.
So weird.
I used to have on my phone as that as a ringtone, like much. It's so good. Or even screens, they have technology, but it's like, it feels almost wrong, but it works because it's there. This is how the world is developed.
Exactly. And that, like the setting and everything, oh my gosh, I thought they were beautiful. I love that we have so many physical sets too.
Yeah.
Of course, there is some CGI in there just for backgrounds and everything to augment, in the map painting and stuff. But it looks amazing. We see that creature in one of the first few episodes.
The fish.
That Shanks and Luffy encounter, and it's not on for very long, but it doesn't look stupid.
It doesn't.
That was the thing.
It was great.
It fits in really well.
The water dripping off of it. It was menacing. It had presence. It was like, that feels real. It didn't have a CGI like feel to it. Some of those films, like, it can't be real, right?
Exactly.
But no, I get what you're saying. That it looked great.
Yeah, it was. For me, I liked the way that they did the character backstories. Those vignettes, they worked for me. I think more so because I don't know anything going in. You know what I mean?
They filled some stuff in as well that I'd never seen. So that was really nice as an anime. They put stuff in there, emotional moments that I was like, I didn't know I needed to know that. But now that I have it in there, that's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was powerful. I mean, like the one with Sanji, him as a boy on the rock.
Dude.
Did you recognize that young actor?
No.
He's the one from Sweet Tooth.
Oh, of course he is. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, It worked. I fell in love with the show. I mean, my biggest complaint is that I am really worried that it's not going to be continued by Netflix because
I'm also worried that it is going to be continued, but we only get it in 3 years' time, because we've been waiting for this one for years, and it's massive CG. But as we know, you fall out of memory, and then it loses some of the traction and the hype of it. The Witcher fell into that trap, and in between, like COVID and like issues, because they wait so long, and then they're trying to build the franchise. So we get an anime, which was great. We get a side story, which is great. But because of the main franchise and the body of something that should be awesome, it just goes like...
Yeah, it just falls right off. Yeah. This, like, I'm very excited to see where the story goes. I thought the action was done really well.
Dude.
Because they didn't obscure it, even when they did those quick cuts.
Yeah, it was interesting camera work. I thought it was very different. You often found yourself going around the action, and I thought, like, that's really great. Because how else do you showcase what they can do? Because especially of their powers, their moves.
Yeah, well, and it reminded me. You remember Vikram, that Indian movie? Yeah, where sometimes the camera would zoom in or fly in and be around the characters and stuff. Some of that reminded me of that, because it became very immersive. We went from being bystanders and just looking to being like right near them to see some of the stuff, and then fly back out to get the bigger scope of what's going on before switching to a different character. And I thought everything clicked really well. I mean, the pacing was great. I did not notice the time at all.
Love the cast. I think that the cast, they nailed the characters. Like, both from a perspective of, this is really good. Luffy being exuberant and a leader and happy all the time. The guy that you want leading you. That kid just personifies everything that you need to be a leader. But then you get like Zoro, with the 3 swords. I didn't know. Like, I was really worried. How do you do 3 swords? Because in the anime you get it, like you buy it, but like in real life, like, how do you make that look good? And they did. It was fantastic. Usopp, I'm disappointed he doesn't have a long nose, because in the anime he literally has a long nose.
Oh, really?
And part of that is like a Pinocchio story, because he's always telling lies, as we see in the story. He's just full of crap, isn't he? He's the most scaredy cat, one with least talent. But funnily enough, like down the line, he's one of them that holds the glues, kind of the other heart of the ship, which Luffy uses as well.
Well, and what I loved too is after defeating the fishmen, Luffy supports what Usopp's saying. Yeah, Usopp's telling the story.
It's his victory.
Yeah, but he gives it to. He lets him have that spotlight. It was just it showcases so much character that Luffy has. Yeah, brilliant.
So I was worried they weren't going to showcase how powerful these characters are, like the ones with devil fruit, because Luffy's still coming into his powers, and we only see a little bit of what Shanks. There's a power called Haki that Shanks, when he tells the fish to bugger off, and you hear that little sound that goes boom, that's what he's using. But you don't get it until we meet. Is it Red Hawk? The best swordsman in the world, and there's a scene where he's been called, and he uses his sword. He just literally decimates a whole like man of war ship, and I was like, that's what I needed to see, just so people have an understanding. Those who have mastered their devil fruit powers, this is, because this whole fight, like, we thought Ronar was good, but that dude fought him with a tiny little toothpick of a sword.
That was, I loved the huge sword that the dude has too, though.
It's so anime. It's great, isn't it?
Exactly. It's comical, but it works again with the whole world that they've set up, and then the all of the characters announcing their moves before they do them,
and that's anime as well.
Yeah,
but the fact that they like Zoro's, because Luffy goes, all good, whatever. You say your moves, and he goes, no, they don't. You're like,
was so good because that deadpan and really the calling out of how silly that actually is, and yet watching it and then gum gum and then he does whatever he
Gatling gun, yeah.
Oh,
there are bits that they didn't need to add in that added more character and more development or just more love to the story. One of the things I loved was the wanted posters, the bounties for each character, and they would physically touch them and rip them. There's no need to be in it. That was stupid. Like, what is that even? Did that poster just fly in front of their face in that moment and they're like, nah, get rid of it? But it was kind of cool, like a callback to the anime and what they're worth. Each episode starts with a different Jolly Roger flag, and those designs were very cool. I like the green one particularly. There was just so many that I thought there were little nods that I was just like, yeah, that's really. It feels like they love it, which is what you needed. Someone that really loves it, that actually has talent to be able to pull it off, and a full budget, which is great. And here, this is what we have.
Yeah. It's I truly hope that we get many more seasons because it was a blast, and I really want to see where it goes now.
You literally could pick up season 2 of the anime and start from there.
Right? Yeah. Nice. Because it's adventure, and I love adventure stories. I love pirate type of things, just that hidden treasure, that searching type of thing. I mean, it's cool.
So much good stuff to come. Well, I guess we should move on.
Okay. So last night I watched a movie. It came out on demand on Friday, September 1st. And as of our recording, I've not recorded my review yet for it. But it's called, it's weird, #ChadGetsTheAxe.
Okay.
So it's all one word. It is an indie horror movie. Now, at the beginning, it feels like a direct ripoff of Deadstream. And Deadstream was on my top 10 movies of 2022. I absolutely love it. I just bought the Steelbook Blu-ray of it. Right. Brilliant found footage, comedy horror. This one follows kind of the same premise where we have some internet celebrities, and I use internet celebrities, and streamers. They go to a haunted house during a live stream.
Right.
Now, the way this differs from Deadstream is that it is not a comedy.
Right.
There are a couple of humorous moments in there. I was actually shocked at how tense and creepy this got. Huh. This becomes a full-on horror movie.
What? Wow.
And
because it's Glasgow, right? I expected it to be like a Glaswegian humor, but it's not.
It's what did you say? Glasgow?
Glasgow, yeah.
What's that?
Glasgow Fright Fest. Glasgow is in Scotland.
Yeah. Oh, is that where it came out? Oh, that's cool. Yeah. No, I didn't know. I mean, because it's an American movie. I mean, it's very American.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, very American. Which that also you're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It works. It's found footage. It's not very long. I mean, it's like an hour and a half, I think, maybe a little less than that. So it doesn't say it was welcome. It begins cheesily, and it sets up our characters so that we pretty much don't like them. Like, they're very aggravating and very grating, which becomes fun then because we want to see bad things happen to them because they're just not likable people. But at the same time, you get caught up, at least I did, get caught up in the chase and the suspense of it all. And I don't necessarily want to see them, bad things happen to them.
So do you, so it builds enough for you like the characters?
I like the situations that the characters are in.
Okay. Sure.
I'm not necessarily rooting for them, but it becomes a fact that I'm not rooting against them anymore. I think that's, it's very, sometimes it's very narrow focused. It's shaky cam sometimes. It all works for a found footage type of thing. Just like in Deadstream, the comments from the audience are hilarious. I mean, it's great. You know, I found myself actually sometimes watching the comments more than I was actually watching what was going on.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. This one, it was a surprise, really. I was, because when I saw the trailer for it, I don't even think I had sound on the trailer. What?
How did you even hear about it?
I got sent it from a PR company. They were like, "Hey, this is coming out. Do you want to review it?" And I watched the trailer, kind of, and I was like, that looks like fun. Sure, why not?
Yeah.
And then the more I thought about it, I was like, gosh, I hope this is not a direct ripoff of Deadstream, and then maybe slash in some Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Love Tucker and Dale. Yeah.
Well, see, two movies that I absolutely adore. I didn't want this to just be some cheap ripoff of that. And so I'm glad that while it took a premise of Deadstream, it then changed the trajectory of it.
Right.
And so the atmosphere is done really well. It's unsettling, disturbing, creepy, and short too. That's the other thing. I mean, it uses its time compressed and just goes right into it. So it's on demand. So it's definitely worth checking out.
Nice. Yeah, it's currently on YouTube as well, so you can just not the film. You can rent it on YouTube. So
rent it on YouTube. Yeah, and sweet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just jump on there.
Nice.
Cool. How much of the first season of The Wheel of Time did you watch? Because I know you weren't a big fan. Did you just teeter off? Did you end up watching the whole lot?
I didn't, and I think I stopped before you said it got like really, really good.
Right. Okay.
So I think I only watched like 2, maybe 3 episodes.
Okay. So I mean, to say the first season was divisive, that would be an understatement. From fans who read the books, coming into like, you've changed my characters doing so much, to new people who just didn't really quite get this fantasy world. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun, but I could see the arguments of like what they didn't like, but it wasn't an issue for me. Amazingly, season 2 is much better.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I need you to watch it, Chris. I was surprised at how much better it was. Like I enjoyed the first season, but the characters here, the journeys they go on, there's really big emotional moments that I was surprised that I was getting choked up in. I was like, wow. And I've seen the first 3. I'm going to watch the 4th episode this week. And then they're releasing it. So they drop the first 3, and then it's like week on week until I'm guessing 8 episodes again. Journey-wise, everybody is split up. Like they're all on their different journeys. They thought they had won some sort of battle at the end of season 1, but the consequences of what they've done and what has happened is like way worse than they could imagine, and they don't have the power, this one power that they were looking forward to. Like really skipping over, so there's no kind of big reveals for those that haven't seen the first season yet.
Thank you.
Special effects look great. Costume design looks great. Sets look good. Score is great. Acting is good.
Is Rosamund Pike still the central figure?
She is. Kind of. Because they're all over the place now. So we have multiple stories to follow. Some of the stories I was not expecting to see. I think what they've done is they've taken a lot of the 3rd book and for this story and some of 2, but so they've taken what they really want to work. They're not sticking so closely to, because they just can't. The books are like thick like this. And this seems to be working for them. Like the pacing, the story, much less teen angsty. Like, so, you had some teen angst in the first. This is not that. This feels like an almost completely different series in the way that it's much more mature, adult themed, and they're really kind of going for it. I was very impressed with these 3, and by seeing the comments as well, most everybody's like, I didn't mind the first season, but this is so much better. So they definitely seems to have found their footing now.
Cool. And it's on Prime. You said the first 3 episodes are out now?
Yep.
Okay. Sweet. Yeah, I will have to revisit it. I mean, I love Rosamund Pike. Yeah, I think she's outstanding, great. And so cool. And I do like fantasy. So yeah, cool. All right. I watched a movie last night. I went to the theater. They didn't do any screenings around me for this. It's called Bottoms.
Right.
It's with Rachel Sennott and Ayo Edebiri.
Okay.
And I didn't even watch a full trailer for it. I was like, okay, this might be fun. It was billed as kind of like a female queer fight club. And I was like, that's interesting.
That's certainly different.
Yeah, it's weird, right? And so I'm like, I'm intrigued. Let's go.
Yeah.
The first handful of minutes, I was not digging the movie at all. I was not clicking with it. I was more annoyed, I think, with the dialogue and just all of the mannerisms and everything that was going on. And then I realized what I was watching. And I didn't understand that it was such a satire at the beginning.
Okay.
Holy crap. Once I did that, once I shifted my perspective, it becomes hilarious. Not every single joke lands, but there are so many points within this. Some are very subtle, from just like posters on the wall to just being outright blatant. I mean, you have all of the football players in this who they wear their pads and their uniform all the time. All the time. Cleats and everything through the school. There's a point where we see
so
a quarterback.
It's properly satire. That's almost like Naked Gun sort of comedy. That's weird.
Almost, but not ridiculous like that. That's the thing.
But that is ridiculous.
Well, it is, but it's not. It's, you know how
is it Barbie ridiculous?
Maybe absurd. Like, it doesn't go into that absurdist type of thing because it's not they don't ever call out the pads and the costume. You know what I mean? It just is. Yeah. And so there's one point where we see the quarterback not in a school setting and he's still wearing his shoulder pads. And it's it's funny. You have he yells his name whenever he spikes the ball. They do this cheerleading thing at a rally. Dude, so on point. So it's like a 14-second cheerleading routine, and you're like, that's okay. The fight club aspect of this is done really well. Most of it's montage, right, so that and you don't see. I mean, they rush through this a little bit because it's not. You don't see them actually like training or practicing or doing any of this. It just becomes, I mean, truly like Fight Club. Let's just two people go and they just go at it, and they suck sometimes and then they start to get better. And so the montage really works because it's all of these quick little things of somebody just taking a punch to the head or somebody being, thrown down or whatever.
Do they talk about Fight Club?
Yes and no. I mean, it's kind of a secret, and the progression is obvious and predictable. Right. So it because of the two girls are leads. They're both gay, and they start the fight club because they have crushes on cheerleaders that they want to sleep with, and so they're hoping that if they start this club and they call it more of a protection type of thing, a self-defense type of club, that those girls will eventually come in and then they can, maneuver into them and work their stuff. But because it's all based on a lie, that some things are, there's going to be the conflict and that reveal that happens, hurt feelings, all of that stuff. There's the final act is just off the rails. I mean, and again, it doesn't work if this isn't satire, because it steps away from realism and looks at it. You almost look at it like through a fantastical lens, because everything is just, I mean, it's so over the top in what happens, and yet it is highly enjoyable. I mean, I loved it. We were laughing. The theater was kind of packed, and it was a smaller theater, but there was a lot of people in there, and you heard just a ton of people laughing. I mean, they play up stereotypes, which really work. It has heartfelt moments. It's the whole package is like, wow, this is so much better than I anticipated it could be. And I laughed way more than I thought I would, and luckily I realized faster that, you know, this was satire and what it was poking fun at, versus going in and being annoyed by these grating characters, you know, and then the stupidity of their actions and things like that. And yeah, they work within the context really well.
Yeah, I saw like a trailer and a poster for this, and I was like, I don't know how, if like, is that for me? Should I even be watching it? But it's interesting you saying like it works, because you're straight, you're married, you have kids, yet you had a really good time with it, which is the way films should be, even if it's specifically for a certain demographic. The themes should be relatable.
Absolutely. And this isn't even like, it's funny too, because this is not like an anti-men movie. It picks fun at some of the stereotypical and the toxic masculinity and the jock, you know, bro mentality and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then it also makes fun of the stereotypes within women. And then the environment that we put people in. You know, and we hold them up to certain ideals or whatever, or expectations, and then ridicule them when they don't match that. But then when they try, we also ridicule them.
Right.
And so
yeah. Nice. Well, I don't know if that's even out yet, but I'll have a look for it when it comes.
It'll probably hit digital before it comes out for you
probably.
guys.
Yeah, because that's what happens a lot here.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I saw so much this week. I used a VPN to watch The Last Voyage of the Demeter. I saw Cobweb.
Oh.
I enjoyed both. Didn't love them.
Okay.
Like the idea of the Demeter.
Yeah, can I comment on that really quick? I've seen actually a handful of comments where people talk about how not realistic it is or stupid it is that the characters choose to battle Dracula at night. And I'm like, okay, yes. But remember, this is a chapter of a novel. Dracula has to survive because there's more of the novel that goes on.
I mean,
so
I didn't
it's
have
not
so
like,
much of an issue of that. The way it plays out, the way they showcase it, it takes a long time for them to figure out that what they're dealing with is Dracula. That, you know, at first it's a beast, at first it's a person, and then when it's like the supernatural stuff, they don't know the rules. Like, no one has come up with the Bible of, and even the rules I thought that might work against him don't seem to work. Like, he's a formidable foe. Yeah. No, I thought the look of it was incredible. Great.
Right. Yeah.
Cobweb was one of the scariest films I've seen this year. I thought it's tense, brilliantly acted. But then the ending just left me going, really? It's just like, this is a great film. And then, what?
Sure. I get that.
Yeah.
Totally get that.
But the thing I want to talk about, strangely, is an animated series from a much-loved, long-running animated series, Adventure Time. It had like 10 seasons. I think over the years I watched some with my sons, and then they had like extra stuff that came out recently, which was great. They just came out with a new series, Adventure Time, Fionna and Cake. It's TV, PG, 30 minutes. I need to give parents a word of warning. This is not for young kids. This is a depressing story that has some really dark themes in here. It's incredible to look at. The animation is fantastic. The voice work, it's funny, dramatic, like all the things you want. It's a spin-off, obviously, from Adventure Time. The 2D animation is great. Fionna and Cake, with the help of the former Ice King Simon Petrov, embark on a multiverse-hopping adventure and journey of self-discovery, all the while a powerful new antagonist determined to track them down and erase them from existence lurks in the shadows. You just need to watch the first episode to understand what they're doing with this series. I was so taken back about the themes they were tackling in this. I was like, dude, really? This is dark. And then I went and watched some of the other reviews and what people were saying, and I wasn't wrong. And what the comments were saying is like, I started watching this with my young kids. This is so depressing. I mean, it's excellent, and I loved every moment of it. And it's a fantastic adventure journey. And the cat and cake is incredible. And the magics you see in the storylines and the characters you meet along, exactly what you expect of an Adventure Time. But they've really gone for like an upscale thinking, deep thinking moments that's like really trying to get messages about life, what it means to be about life, how hard life is sometimes, and what it means just to cope with your daily existence. You know, really contemplative stuff. Like, what is the meaning of life, sort of thing. In this like Adventure Time story, I think it's a work of art, but I do think it needs to carry a word warning. Just because it's a PG doesn't mean that your young kids will be able to mentally be equipped for this.
And it's on Max.
It's on HBO.
US.
Max. Yeah. First couple of episodes, and then they're dropping 2 every week until it's finished.
Nice. I never watched the original Adventure Time.
I don't think you need to.
This is a like standalone
it's
type of thing. It's just within the universe, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Do you have more?
I have one final thing. Yeah.
Okay.
The beginning of the week was slow for me, and so I wanted to have a win. I wanted to watch something that
I get that.
I knew about, you know, but honestly, this has been, I haven't seen this probably since it kind of first came out. I may have seen it once after it initially came out, but it's from 1993. So it's, 30 years old.
Yeah.
So it is old. It's a movie by Taylor Hackford. And Taylor Hackford, in case you don't know, I mean, he's done things like An Officer and a Gentleman, Dolores Claiborne, The Devil's Advocate, Proof of Life, Ray, and then he has things that nobody liked. But
except
this one,
probably I liked.
Well, maybe, yeah. Well, this one though, it was weird because it has a different title than what it ended up being released as. I remember seeing the trailer for this, and I was instantly enamored. The full title of this from 1993 is called Blood In, Blood Out, Bound by Honor. Then when it was released, it was called Bound by Honor. And it is an epic movie. It's 3 hours long, and we follow 3 Hispanic brothers / cousins / stepbrother type things in East LA through the late 70s and into the early 80s. And they are all part of this gang, the Vatos Locos, and as young adults. But then an event happens, and they go 3 separate ways. And so then we follow their journeys as they interweave. So one goes to prison, one becomes a cop, and one becomes a drug-addicted artist. And
a poet.
A painter.
A painter. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, he was already an artist, but then anyway, there's tragedy in this. There's so much tragedy in this. Not all of the movie works. You do feel the time. It is long in spots. There are twists to it that I think really work. The character dynamics for me drew me in. The three main actors that you have is Damian Chapa, Jesse Borrego, and Benjamin Bratt. And but what shocked me is the characters or the actors that I kept seeing that would just come in smaller roles. Like you have Delroy Lindo, Raymond Cruz, Billy Bob Thornton. What's it? Biff from Back to the Future. He's in this. So we follow mainly Damian Chapa as Miklo in prison. And you watch how it's really a struggle for family the whole thing, and the dynamics of family, what makes family, how you forgive, can you forgive, how do you move on, can you move on, all of these things. I mean, it's violent, it's dark, it's depressing at times, it's incredibly sad also. It's not ever really funny. I mean, there might be some moments that you smirk, but this is truly a drama. And the way that he paints the characters and the setting, I thought it was immersive. I mean, you feel part of this, especially when we get into prison and you get to see all of those inner workings, and you see like we've seen in so many prison movies or shows, you have all of the different sectors. So you have the Hispanic area, you have the black area, you have the white supremacy area,
the green man,
all of these things. But then there's always the things that don't make sense within those groups and how they all function together also, and because it's its own little universe within there. But if you've never seen this, it's definitely one, if you enjoy just good drama, epic type things to put on. Know that it is slow in spots. I do think it could have been cut down. There are portions that they add to the story, but I don't think they're absolutely crucial for the story.
Right.
So, blood in, blood out, bound by honor.
I mean, I love the director. Devil's Advocate is fantastic.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. That's different. I like to get sometimes like those ones that are most people don't know of, or like hadn't heard of, or may have looked at from time to time. Not really sure what you're going to get. 3 hours though. Seems like a lot to ask.
It is 3 hours. Yeah. It held up better than I thought it would.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
All right.
Yeah.
This week.
My dog is announcing the UPS man. Okay, buddy. Good job.
Good job, buddy.
He might come in here and bark again just to tell me that.
Do you hear him
whining? He's like, "Come on!
Come on! I want to go get him."
Somebody was at the door. Oh goodness! Anyway,
this week at Netflix, we had the final season of Disenchantment drop. It's the conclusion of the story from the creators of The Simpsons and Futurama. It had a bit hit or miss with fans at the beginning. I think there's been a growing sort of cult niche fans as each season has gone along. For me personally, I've enjoyed it more with each season. Because I think the first season was really episodic and not so much into that arc. And then season 2, 3, 4, 5, they just really embraced like the story rather than doing episodic episodes. What worked for this was the fantasy lore and the story they were building about our main protagonist, history, her past. Who is she? What does being get up to actually? What is her mother? Why is her mother always trying to kill her? Her stepmother's again part of the story. Her stepbrother is weird. The voice actors in this series are phenomenal. We have nice different types of fantasy lands that clash with each other, from mermaids to steampunk to that proper fantasy lore. And this time round, they finish with a bang. The last 3 episodes are huge battle sequences, like really, really fun. We've been building up to this sort of war for a long time. And the last episode is 45 minutes long, so they really dedicate a whole big chunk of time. It is going to separate some fans because they separate our main characters towards the end, and they don't actually get to say a goodbye to each other. So that's one big thing that some of the characters, Lucy, the little demon, he's somewhere else doing his own thing. But they've had a number of goodbyes, and every time you think of, but they didn't finish this thread, because it had so many threads and stories that there'd be a line from a guy in a thing like, what about this sort of thread? They literally address
they
it,
call
and
it out,
then someone shoot him with an arrow or something, like, shut up. So I
love it there.
Yeah, it's great. I think it's still funny. I think it's still funny, relevant. Like, even though it's Fantasyland, they make it relevant to what's going on with us. Like, you can relate to that. I think the animation is excellent, and I love the voice work. It just feels like a massive journey. Like owning this on box set would be great, like physical media. Like you could just go through, one of those things that you go through now and again because it has a complete story. You really enjoy it. They left it in a way that it's complete, but feels like they could come back to if they wanted to do a spin-off series with another character at some point.
That's outstanding. I watched most, if not all, of the first season. And then, I wasn't wowed by it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people weren't sure what to expect with this.
Yeah, because it was definitely different. Because wasn't this from the Futurama people, right?
Yeah, it's Futurama and The Simpsons. Yeah.
The voice cast, like you said, it's
insane. Yeah.
It is insane. You have Abby Jacobson, Eric Andre, Nate Faxon, but then you've got, the classics: John DiMaggio, David Herman, Maurice LaMarche, Tress MacNeille, Billy West. Then big name actors like Sharon Horgan, Matt Berry, Noel Fielding, Rich Oyedeoyede. I love it.
Matt
Phil
Berry's
Lamar.
hilarious. He's a pig.
So good. Just yeah, I'm gonna have to go back. I'm glad that you said seasons 2 and then on it really does pick up and it kind of gels and solidifies.
They follow the arc, so it's really easy to get invested in. There's a lot of arcs going on in there, and one season you'll particularly concentrate on one particular character, but there's always that big arc as well. It all centers around Bean and her family. There's a nice growth as well for characters like the father. He's like this drunken idiot king, but he really comes into his own as well, so that they grow his character so that you don't just hate him, you kind of like him at the end, which is great. Like a lot of time spent on growing some of those characters. Lucy, one of my favorite characters, has a massive arc in this, so it's really good.
Wonderful. That's outstanding. Cool. All right.
Time for over 9,000.
Okay.
Over 9,000. Okay, the first thing on my anime list, I think I mentioned briefly in audio last week, but there are 76 episodes in this anime that came out from the year 2000 to 2001. I've been moaning to the people that watch my reviews with fighting animes that I needed a good one to wash the stents out from one that I'd watched. So they mentioned to me, watch an anime called Fighting Spirit. Its original title is Hajime no Ippo. And it happens to be on, at least in the UK, it's on Netflix. They've got all 76. And I have to say, this is the most immersive sporting anime on boxing I've ever seen. I think it's the best anime for boxing. I've seen a few others that are fun. This takes our character Ippo from when he's getting bullied to when he joins a boxing club, all the way to his career as a boxer. And it spends time getting to know your characters, but it really spends time on the sport of boxing. So it showcases so many variant styles of what every boxer has to come up against and conquer, different weights, but also different styles of punches, what it actually takes to hone your body into that sort of boxing fighter, from training on street work, but how you train, how you build up your speed, the weird sort of punishment that they have to take to their body, like constantly being beaten in your stomach to crunch your muscle, so that when you get hit by someone with ridiculous power, it doesn't rock you, or when you get pummeled in your head, you don't have immediate brain damage and pass out. It's all about stamina and willpower, and it's showcased so brilliantly. And then it shows the balance of life. Like, his mother has a fishing boat, and then she takes people out to go fishing, and that's their business that keeps them afloat. And he's got to try and help, but also deal with school, but also become a boxer, and not let his mom, just drown in that business. So there's this weird balance, and it showcases varying weights. So there's other people in the club with him that have different styles and different characteristics, and it's very anime as well, but feels very honest to what a boxing life would be. Not always winning. Sometimes natural talent helps, but what it takes to become a boxer, I was just like, it's very inspiring. Hell of a lot of work. You could feel tired watching it.
Oh, wow.
There was an anime. It was surprisingly, my wife is watching with me, and she doesn't do anime. But I think I talked about like the first episode. It felt like it was the Cinderella story. The first episode was very Cinderella. It's called My Happy Marriage. And from the comments of when I did a review for it, they said, don't worry, it really finds its own feet as to what it is. So there are 9 episodes so far that have been released. It's a weekly release on Netflix.
Okay.
And there'll be 12 altogether for this season. But I'm very impressed with it. It's an anime that has managed to grip Kirsten to watching anime with me every week, and she's always disappointed when there isn't another episode. So that in itself is amazing. Is this young woman who, like the Cinderella story, she has as much right to being one of the daughters of the family, but is looked down upon because she doesn't have this like abilities. If you in this world, if you're born with a certain ability that gives you a higher standing in the family, and so she ends up being one of the servants basically, and they marry her off to kind of get rid of her, not expecting her to be of worth, and they marry her to like this army dude who has gone through like 4 or 5 different previous women that have been sent to him to get married, and they run away from him thinking like he's the worst guy in the world. But these two hit it off straight away. Like they are a match made in heaven, and he's ridiculously powerful as well, like with these. And then there's the complication of her bloodline is really powerful, but she doesn't have any power. So if you could breed her, and that's how they think, breed her, then the baby will have powers. And so there's this whole suddenly supernatural storyline with powers, but also this romantic story that comes in. And she is so broken as a person because her worth is like, you're not worth anything. You're a slave. And so it's this beautiful story as you see her husband to be and the household staff that are wonderful people building her up to be a lady and someone that actually believes in herself.
Nice.
And then you get the supernatural anime story in there, and it's a really nice combination. Loved it. Yeah, really good so far.
I'm seeing the trailer just play on IMDb, and the animation looks just beautiful. Some of it's soft and just pastel-y.
There is one thing that irritates both Kirsten is that her voice is so soft and timid, but and it's on purpose. Like she was like, yes, sir, okay, thank you. You want to shake her and go, believe in yourself, like have some strength. And every now and again, like when you see that she has suddenly come into herself, her voice is much more steady and stronger. But you kind of was like, whoever did this to you, needs to be beaten to a pulp, sort of thing. So it's very easy to root for this character, which means you're rooting for the underdog.
Absolutely.
Very impressed with this. It's very good.
Sweet.
And that is it for my anime today.
Cool.
Those two. Yeah.
All right. Hey, we thank you for joining us. Hope you have enjoyed some of the content that we have brought, maybe unearthed a title or two that you hadn't watched yet, maybe puts it on your list. We would love to know, though, what you're watching. What are some of the best things that you watched this week? You can let us know in the comments. Also, don't forget, answer Ruben's question. Tell us that story. Can't wait to read those. Let us know about the movie quote quiz. We also have a Patreon opportunity, as Ruben had talked about. £1 is the entry fee to get access to all of the videos. We have a couple that are outside the paywall, so that you can see what just an example of what some of the stuff that is there. We have over 60 videos currently, and then we also have a couple other tiers that give you greater access, the ability to request specific items from us to review or to talk about. One even allows you to join on a recording with us. And so we invite you to do that. Patreon.com/thebeardedones. It's on the screen. It's in the description. Like, share, subscribe wherever you happen to be. Well, if you're on Ruben's, like, share, subscribe. If you're on mine, like, share, subscribe. And if you've already done that for each of ours, flip-flop and do the other so that, yes, there we go. We also have an extended audio portion to this podcast where we're going to talk about a movie I think neither of us had seen before.
I hadn't seen it before, no.
I had neither, so that's good. It's called Tumbad. I think that's how you pronounce it, from 2018. Yep. And we're going to talk about the thing that didn't make our list this week. So it could be the worst thing we watched, or it could be just something that was just kind of meh. We'll also hit up entertainment news and then the titles of some things that are coming up in the next week that you may want to put on your watch calendar.
Yep.
I think that's everything, yeah? Cool. All right. Thank you. We will see you next week. Take care.